What is going on, everyone? It is February 9th. Happy Monday. Isn't it the 9th? Yeah, it's the 9th. Happy Monday. Hey, just I had a couple of thoughts this morning on my drive in. And I have this microphone. So we're going to, that's what we're doing. Oh, man, I'm going to drop. There we go. So, a couple thoughts on the 2A, 3A, and 4A playoffs. Actually, while I'm talking through this, I'm gonna pull up my lovely little website here, kind of talk through what it is that I got built out here. And I got to sign in. Look at that. I'm not even signed in, you guys. And password. Okay. So I want to show you about this little interactive um, site that I built. Let's go here to playoff brackets and reset all. Okay. Um, so talk through the playoff brackets in 2A, 3A, and 4A. Sorry, that was a little bit of a clunky start. Welcome to the Utah Schools podcast. Talk through those, and then I want to go through recruiting. It'll be more for the parents, but I want to go through what it was like for me over the weekend. AJ decided to commit to the United States Merchant Marine Academy. Talk a little bit about that school and about what that recruiting was like, and things that I learned as a parent through that. So hopefully that's helpful. It's one perspective, but it's one that I don't feel like we get a lot of. So I hope I can bring that to you. So those are the two things we're going to be talking about. So first of all, let's jump in here to I'm going to share my screen. Da, 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 da. Oh, let me close that one out. There we go. Okay. So real quickly, the 2A and 3A and 4A brackets came out. And so what I did is I put them into my website. If you come up here and you go to teams and then you go to playoff brackets, it's going to pull up. So right now we have, these are locked, right? 2A, 3A, and 4A. And you can see the time remaining before the first game. I'm not sure why this one says, because 3A doesn't start till the 13th. So once they start, the brackets will lock. I'm not exactly setting this up to do some sort of like ESPN style bracket challenge. Maybe next year we can do that, but I couldn't quite figure that out. So what we have is the ability to say, okay, I think American Heritage, and we'll say Ogden, and then Richfield, and I don't know, Manti. So you can like click through these and figure out who you think is going to win. And then we go, okay, I think Morgan's going to meet Manti. So now what I'm building out this week actually is a way to share this. And so you could share who do you think is going to win on Instagram. It's going to create a little drop down or a downloadable file that you can then put on your phone and then share if you want to. Really, I genuinely don't care if you share this stuff or not. I just think it's fun, because right now you have to print it off and you got to fill it in and whatever. So there's just a way to do it digitally, and a way for me to learn how to continue to make stuff. But let's talk here about the playoffs, because I don't know. I think I did a pretty good job just randomly. I don't know about North Sanpete versus Emory. Let's just say Emory, and we'll take the Dinos in the upset. I've not spent a ton of time diagnosing 2A basketball this year, or 3A, sorry, 3A basketball this year. But if we were to look at 3A and kind of how this is shaking out, I do suspect that this is likely to be the matchup in the championship. Now, Richfield last year came and played Judge in the semifinals, and we'll say Richfield's going to go. They played Judge in the semifinals, and got hot at the right moment and beat Judge and then went to the championship. So, and apologies to Emory, I've not done a deep dive on your basketball team. I do suspect though we're going to see a rematch here. American Heritage is the only team to have beaten Morgan in 3A this year. I think that that's going to be our finals matchup in 3A, and I expect Morgan is going to repeat. But like I say all the time, this is a single elimination tournament featuring teenage boys. So injuries can happen. We can talk about 4A and I'm not going to go through and make my predictions in 4A just because it's impossible. But as you saw, like with Dixie, technicals can happen and just randomness happens in a single elimination tournament. So I'm not team like, oh, this is definitely going to happen. This is probably the closest I would have to the highest degree of probability I think is going to be this in 3A. Similarly in 2A, I find it fascinating. I don't know how these rankings are made, or I genuinely don't. I thought there was an RPI. I tried to figure out the formula. It was too difficult for me to figure out because I didn't have access to the data on Max Preps. And so I couldn't quite get the RPI nailed from a formulation perspective. But I'm not going to sit here and nitpick or anything, but American Leadership Academy, if I recall, went to North Summit and beat them by 25 or 30 points in their only head-to-head matchup. How these two teams ended up flip-flopped is beyond me, but in 2A, I really expect for Kanab and ALA to get there. I think maybe the most intriguing matchup in the second round is a potential Roland Hall North Summit. Here with the 7-2. They both have some really high level 2028 players. I think that's one of the coolest things about 1A and 2A basketball. Specifically, obviously it happens at all the levels, but you can get a player who's a freshman or sophomore that's just absolutely dominating. And I think over here, there's two teams with Utah Military Academy, Camp Williams, and APA West Valley, who it's kind of like, well, who are they in terms of as a playing style? I shout out to I forget the player, the name of the player from APA West Valley had 61 points and 9 threes this past week, so that's impressive, no matter the opponent. But one of these two teams. Potentially, I've heard that Parowan is a pretty good team for the record. One of these two teams is potentially going to end up in the state semifinals, so that'll be fascinating. But again, similar to 3A, I have a pretty high degree of probability. Did I pick? Yeah, that Kanab and ALA will meet in the championship, and I suspect that would be a very good game, similar to Morgan and American Heritage. I would take American Leadership Academy right now, but again, a lot can happen. So if we come over here to 4A, this, like I said, to me is absolutely wide open. Oh, this didn't update. Huh. Okay. This has the wrong seedings in it. I'll publish the updates here. It didn't import correctly, but Desert Hills is not playing Mountain Crest. Desert Hills is playing Judge. Mountain Crest is playing Timpanogos. I'll have to make sure that these are updated. But see, look what happens when we find happy little errors in our system. So let me get this one corrected. But a potential Desert Hills or Judge, by the way, that is not. I know some people are like, oh yeah, Judge is going to win. They're going to play Provo. Desert Hills is a very good basketball team. They are home. Judge has to drive 4 hours. That is not a game that Coach Sanyon and the boys are looking past. I can tell you that much right now. So a potential first game for Provo against either Judge or Desert Hills is not something that I'm sure that they're exactly excited about. I'll be completely candid. But would you, if you are Provo, would you? It's like you get Judge, Desert Hills, Hurricane, potentially, like, which of these teams would you want? Snow Canyon, Green Canyon, a Bear River, Mountain View, East, Timpanogos, Murray, or Summit. Like, it 4A is very, very, very deep, and I don't have any idea what's going to happen. I have no concept of reality when it comes to 4A. Region 9 got 4 teams: Crimson Cliffs, Dixie, Pineview, and Dixie, Crimson Cliffs, Pineview, something. Did Rachel? Okay, I got to check my 4A. Either way, I thought that they got 4 of the 8 teams with a bye. Maybe I'm wrong, but I will update my I'm going to pull this down because now it's just embarrassing how the data is. Actually, let's see if we can do this here live in real time over on Lovable. So 4A to me, and it's been this way all year long. 4A is wide open. It really is. A team, Provo down to the 17 seed and Judge, are all. I could tell you a reason why I think any of those teams is going to make a deep run and take state. 1 through 17, and that's not an exaggeration. I went through the list and I was like, yep. Okay. I know that team, that player, it's pretty brutal. Okay, let me I'm actually going to publish this, but I think it has the incorrect I'm trying to do the export function on there, and I don't think that it was exactly done correctly, but either way, we'll see if that works. All right, so those are my 2A, 3A. I have no predictions for 4A. Zero idea. No clue. But you can go through and you can see. You can move the teams around once the brackets are correctly imported. You can make that happen. Okay, so recruiting. Let's pivot here. So over on Sunday, it was a cool moment. Actually, it was earlier in the week. AJ got a call from the basketball coach at the United States Merchant Marine Academy saying that he had spoken with admissions, his application had been approved. To tell you what this means, so from he applied in September, I want to say, is when he applied. The application process took months. October, November, December, January. It was four months for the application. So 4 months. He had 3 congressional nomination interviews, 3 congressional interviews, because you have to have 1 congressional nomination. Air Force, Army, Air Force Academy, West Point, Naval Academy, Merchant Marine Academy all require a congressional nomination. He had to go through 2 Department of Defense medical exams. He had to do a physical test. So he had to pass a whole bunch of these. It was a whole test that he had to do, running and lifting and doing stuff. It's brutal. It's a long application. So when that happened and he was accepted, it was really cool. Just a quick note on USMMA. I'd never heard of it, and I'll tell you how we got to that. But it's a pretty prestigious academy. One of the highest, one of the degrees which nets you the highest salary post graduation, on average. It is equivalent with graduating with an Ivy League degree in terms of being able to go get a job. So it's really hard, and I'm going to talk about why. Or what the recruiting was like, and part of that is some advice that I got early on and that I wanted to impart. So, but similar to all the other academies, it's a full ride. Everybody has a full ride, and then there is a service requirement on the back end. The first 3 require military service. The USMMA requires you work in the maritime industry. So Marine isn't like the Marines. Marine is water and ships, if that makes sense. So it's part of the Department of Transportation. It's supply, logistics, engineering, stuff like that. But you have a service that you have to do within the maritime industry, or you can choose to enlist as an officer in any one of the armed forces. So really beautiful campus. It's between Queens and Long Island. It's a pretty quick train ride into the city. We're really excited. I mean, it's something that was well earned. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. Um, so what was this like as a dad? I don't think parents, we don't get this perspective all that often. So I tried to make a quick video. I could not make this happen quickly. There's a lot of components that went into this for us. And I will tell you, some of it had to do just in recruiting with knowing people. Excuse me. Having a network is helpful in any part of life. So for me, it was my high school coach from 1999, who I stayed in touch with. Not because I thought, oh man, I'm really going to need to know this guy because my kid is going to be playing in college. He was a good dude, and we just stayed in touch. So that was pretty great. Um, I ended up as I was a chaplain for the Air Force Academy Prep School back when I was in Colorado Springs. Again, when we moved here, AJ was 10 years old. It's not like there's none of this was some like scheming to get my kid to go play college basketball. Actually, when we were living in Colorado, AJ did not like basketball. It was fine. Um, but he's 10. He was trying all the sports, which by the way, totally do. Totally do that. Please. So so that became a really key relationship here. Once AJ decided in about 7th grade that he wanted to really pursue this. So a couple of things that who's now retired coach Bob Cavera had told me when I reached out to him for advice, because Bob also he was a coach, but he was also had a son who ended up playing in, I believe he played in the GPAC conference, which is a really good NAIA program in the Midwest. So I just said, "Hey, coach, what do you recommend?" And he said, "Well, number one, there's going to be a non-negotiable, and that is grades. So grades are not going to necessarily get you recruited. It's not like there's not going to be a coach who's like, well, you're really bad at basketball. You can't be 5'6", 110 pounds and shooting 20% from three, but be a 4.0 student and be like, oh, well, your grades are good." I mean, obviously, it's exaggerating, but grades are a non-negotiable and is the thing that can stop you from being recruited. It is a regulator on your recruitment. And so he said, as we were looking at high school, he said, I would recommend you find the hardest academic school, challenge him academically, tell him to work hard, get good grades, take your tests, SAT or the ACT. That's gonna help out a lot. I said, okay. So we did some research. We found out that Judge was one of, if not the top school academically in the state. And we applied and he was accepted to be able to go there for, again, academics. At the time, Judge is a 3A basketball program. This wasn't like something that we're like, oh man, we have to go to the best basketball school. That was never actually his advice, was go to the best basketball school. It was go to the place that will challenge him the most academically. Because what happens if you get good grades and then all the other stuff I'm going to talk about is there, it broadens your opportunity scope, which is desperately needed if you're going to play in college from a high school perspective. Now, especially, you have to have a broadened scope. And as a parent and as a player, if you say, for example, I want to play in college, but I don't want to leave the state of Utah. Very, very, very narrow scope. Very, I mean, go watch Westminster or USU Eastern play or Slick play. Those are the highest probable options for you. And Westminster is hard to go play there, not just because the RMAC is really good and Westminster is good. That is true. But it's not a state school. So it's an expensive school to go to. And they don't use a lot of their scholarship money on local players, typically, historically. And if you're good enough to have Westminster using that, you are probably good enough to go other places as well if you wanted to, potentially Division One programs. So you have a bunch of Division One programs, and then you have Snow College, the number one junior college in the state, or in the country rather. You have Slick, sorry. You have Slick, and then you have USU Eastern and Westminster. So if you say, I only want to play in Idaho and Utah, very, very narrow scope. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very, very difficult. So you want to broaden your scope. So I said, okay, this is early on. Another thing he told me was he's got to physically be able to compete. And it's like, what does that mean? Well, weight room, lifting, all that stuff. Okay, well, this is what you got to do if you. And by the way, it was all driven by him. Like, he is the one who wanted to do this stuff. He wanted to do this. It was my early on as a parent. It was my early thing with AJ was this. If I ever want this more than you want it, then we're done, because it's never going to work. It's just not, for 99% of the players, it's never going to work if they don't have the desire to do it, because it's really, really, really hard, freakishly hard, and it's a lot of work. So he got in the weight room. He added, from the time he was going into his freshman year till now, he put on about 45 pounds of pretty lean muscle, just in the weight room, eating well, sleeping well, all that kind of stuff. So that was number 2. But again, you can't just be a high academic kid who's also a football player that's in really good shape and be able to go play college basketball. There is obviously a skill level to this. And so where the skill, as kind of the third part of this 4-leg stool, the skill came from all the stuff, right? Playing AAU basketball, challenging himself at the highest level he could, playing at the highest level that he possibly could, being the 8th or 9th guy playing AAU basketball. At Judge, his sophomore and junior year, coming off the bench and scrapping and fighting and clawing for minutes wherever you can. That type of pressure, at least for AJ, pushed him. Now, maybe for some others it wouldn't, but for him, it really pushed him to get better and get in the gym. He put up a lot of shots, worked on with various trainers, right? He's like, all that stuff you have to do. You have to do it. I will say that, at least again, I will speak to my perspective. From my perspective with AJ, the last leg of this is important, which was having network relationships and having adults in your side. So I know people just through, not really this. I just know people through my personal life, through my job. That's something that I do really well in general. I just get to know people in a real and authentic and genuine way. So, but you have to have people like that. So for AJ specifically, let's talk through this USMMA thing, because I think this is really important. How did this opportunity come up? Actually, how did almost all of his opportunities to go play in college came built upon, I want to stress it, I can't stress it, built upon the foundation of having a reason for people who have networks to reach out, right? He worked really hard. He got in the gym. He got in the weight room. He took his nutrition serious. He took his grades serious. Like, all of that stuff had to be true. But you go look at his stats and you're like, really? I mean, that I'm sure there's people who say that, right? It's like, I don't know, why do coaches like him instead of me? I'm just telling you, this is one of the reasons why coaches tell me, right? It's because they would look at film, see half the court, right? He's defending at a very high level against multiple people. When you have film of you playing in at the Pangos All-American camp, guarding Tyron Stokes, like, that's helpful as a sophomore. That's helpful, right? Going to Wasatch Academy, going to like playing in the Puma League, like all of these things are helpful to have that kind of film. Say, here was these guys, and here's me defending these guys. So that was helpful. It's not all about offense. Um, but specifically, what happened is I'd never heard of the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, probably like a lot of you, which, by the way, you should totally put on your radar. It's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for young athletes here in Utah. So last summer, let's try to make this quick. Or the summer between his junior and senior year, a couple of things happened. So number one, looking at like the network stuff, he went to the Air Force elite camp, which is an invite. It's pretty much an invite only camp. It's open to everybody. All these elite camps are. I do recommend these camps. I know, people say like, oh, it's just a money grab. Listen, it's like $50 or $100, especially the ones at Westminster, SUU, the local camps. If there is a college camp happening, there are going to be coaches there, not just from that school. If you can go to that camp, go to that camp. AJ went to every Westminster camp. And then coaches were at that camp, and then they saw him play, and then they followed him as these coaches left and went to other places. So he went to the Air Force Academy Elite Camp and played pretty well there. At that camp, there was a coach from another school where he went and visited, got a scholarship opportunity to go play basketball at Mount Marty in Yankton, South Dakota. Really, really cool school. Awesome little town, right on the border of Nebraska and South Dakota. So there was an assistant coach there who was at the camp, liked his game. AJ wanted to visit. So again, show up at these camps. Then Judge went and played at the Colorado Live Scholastic Showcase in Colorado, in Denver, in June. And again, I want to reiterate this. AJ played well. He played well at the Air Force camp. He played well in Colorado. As a matter of fact, Iman played great in Colorado in front of Colorado State Pueblo. That was his offer came at that camp from multiple RMAC schools, but CSU Pueblo. I'm excited to go watch AI play. Masir played great at that same event, and has a couple of opportunities at some really high level JUCOs. AJ played well. So again, this is where it happened for AJ and AI and for Moss. So it was the high school recruiting time. That was where a lot of their stuff happened. AI picked up a couple other offers, playing for Team Utah. He had a great summer for them. But the coach from DU turned out to be a really, really tremendous dude. Played and coached Division III. And he had said to me, hey, I really think that this could be a cool opportunity at the Merchant Marine Academy if AJ wants to go to a service academy. So I went and looked. I saw that he was connected to the Air Force because he had coached there. I asked my high school coach, who I'd stayed in contact with, hey, I'd really love to talk to this guy. Put me in contact with him. Loved AJ's film. We went out on a visit. The visit was hard. It was good, but it was hard. It's very realistic about what life is like. And then that's how the process started. So he played well at a high school camp with his high school. So if your high school is not playing in these live high school periods, they should. Obviously coaches are out in AAU, but AAU basketball historically is not how college basketball is played. So a lot of times college coaches are showing up to AAU events to recruit specific players. The style of basketball, not all the time, but the style of basketball oftentimes in AAU is not the same style of basketball they're going to play in college. And so a lot of college coaches who have budgets that are being tightened a little bit, and by the way, the live AAU periods have shrunk down to 3. So a lot of college coaches are going to go to Section 7, at least here locally, in the Scholastic Live Showcase. Take that for what it's worth. So he had people in his side who could help him. He put in the work. And when it mattered, he showed up and played well. That's what led to his opportunities. It had nothing to do with this podcast. It had nothing to do with my Instagram. Nothing. Zero to do with that. And I want people to understand, because you don't have to have an Instagram page. Social media was not part of this at all. It was just having adults in your corner who are going to advocate for you and help you achieve the highest level of possibilities that you have earned the right to achieve. Does that make sense? My network was never going to matter. Knowing my high school coach, that was not going to matter if he did not put in the work. It just wasn't, which is fine. Being a high school basketball player is great, but people ask me all the time about recruiting. That's what happened. Okay. And it's incredible. It's really proud of him. I'm really proud of, I mean, honestly, all the kids like Bryson Watson committing to Green River. Green River is a great basketball opportunity for Utah high school basketball players. It's a really, really high level program. Coach Drake does a great job. Coach Riley at SWAC does a great job. Coach Foster at Bellevue. These guys, they all do a tremendous job at recruiting Utah and helping to get kids to a 4-level school or 4-year school. So whatever that opportunity is, if you have earned the right to have a coach say, I want you, it does not matter what the level is. Look at it like the probability that you will go from college to pros is substantially lower, like orders of magnitude lower than going from high school to college. So the likelihood that college basketball is probably going to be the last level of basketball that anybody will play, probability speaking, anybody. So get the opportunity. If you have an offer right now and a coach is on you, if it's in the NWAC, if it's a Division 3, if it's a Division 2, whatever it is, unless you're the top player with where you can kind of pick your school, for the rest, you got to go grab that. So, yeah, there it is. 33 minutes. Wow, that was crazy. I guess I got to make sure that my ranking site was properly updated. Let's see here. Let's loading bracket and wait for it. 4A. No, it still didn't fix it. Okay. I got to fix some things on the website. Everyone check it out. I'll let everyone know when when the 4A bracket is fixed. I don't know what's going on. That's really strange. But appreciate you listening. Hopefully that was helpful. If not, then I don't know. I can't give you back your time, so sorry. Anyway, bye everybody.